All doing? It's been a while since I've done a live. I thought this was a special day, though, since we got the arraignment of Donald Trump, and we find out that he has 34 felony charges. Hello to everyone. I wanted to do this for those folks that continually told me, oh, nothing's going to happen. Thank you, Terry. And hi to everybody. Since we had this special day and Donald Trump actually got the indictment and got arraigned and has 34 felony counts. Well, that's very interesting. Hello to all of you. Ms. Maddie, Rosa, Lexi Bug. Anyhow, it's fun watching this and seeing that we're really starting to see the tide turn in this country, because we've spent so much time with these Republicans and now it's starting to go against them. Left him, would you rather watch a tree grow or a knee grow? Nice. And that's knee, Knee. Let me tell you, the folks out there that are of a like mind, the normal folks, if you run into a Trump humper, just don't respond to them. Don't talk to them. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. Hello, Aloha Girl, Shell 0730. Thanks for joining me. Again, I don't do many lives because inevitably one of these Trump humpers will try to take it down or whatever, and it's absolutely ridiculous after a certain amount of time. And I like to protect the platform, the TikToks. But if we ever have problems on TikTok by somebody taking something down, remember, you can always go to Rational Boomer Podcast. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. You can always find it someplace, somehow. It's always something going on. And all you really have to do to find any of those things, including the podcast, is go to rationalboomer.com. Go there and you'll have links to everything, so it'll never be hard to find. ATL Keem says he looks sad in court. Yeah, he looked defeated. He was mad and he was defeated. Someone says he just got the #1 grifter badge. That's interesting. With all the negative things going on with Donald Trump, he was able to take this indictment and turn it into a grifting opportunity. To date, he's got about $8 million in the last week to 10 days with all this indictment stuff. And it's amazing to me that people will still send him money. With all we know, all we've seen, and all we've heard, they still stand by this clown. I don't know how that's even fucking possible. Cat writes 1018, it needs to turn faster. Fascists are trying to take over our school boards. Yeah, it is. And I agree, it should go faster, but I don't know that that's possible. The fact of the matter is, everything in the legal circles and in government goes slowly. We have to be kind of patient and just wait it out. Our waiting is paid off as of today. We've got the indictment, we've got the arraignment, we've got 34 felony charges. That's pretty good as far as I'm concerned. Jazzy Piper says Michael Cohen didn't lie. Everything Michael Cohen wrote about is 200% true. Yeah, it seems like it, absolutely. Pickles 451 says, hi, you're great. Well, thank you. That might be a little strong, but I appreciate that. Maria Pruder, hello from California. Hey, California. Chaz Houston, hey, Boomer. Trump loves the poorly educated for a reason. Yeah. They're easy to manipulate and easy to get them to believe anything that comes out of his fucking mouth. Ricky Ricardo, 1965, says it was a good day, but it will take more time to see something, unfortunately. Well, here's the thing. You got to learn to take things a little bit at a time. We've got the indictment. Now, when we talk about the court case in these indictments, it may be 6 months, 9 months, a year before the trial even starts. But the trial is not as important as what happened today. Think about it this way. He gets this indictment in New York. He's got 34 felony counts or charges. Now, then Georgia comes out in early May. That's what we're hearing. Early May, Fani Willis will come out and issue her indictments. And then the DOJ comes out. Think about this. We've got a 76-year-old man that's not in the best emotional or physical shape. He's going to have maybe as many as 5 indictments. He's got the civil suits with E. Jean Carroll and Letitia James hanging over his head. And it's just not going to wear well for him. It's going to be tough for him to handle it. This is one thing that some people say. They say, oh, you're just giving Donald Trump the presidency. No, sorry, that's not going to happen. If Donald Trump becomes the nominee for the Republican Party, that's not the Democrats' problem. That's the Republicans' problem. They want to be done with Donald Trump because Donald Trump is a boat anchor. All he does is lose. He won the 2016 election, and that's even questionable now when we find out some of the shady shit he did. But him and his ideologies lost in 2018. Donald Trump lost in 2020 by 7 million votes. And in 2022, he lost again. Donald Trump is not a winner. And the Republicans know this. They don't want him to be the candidate in 2024 because it's guaranteed a loser for him. So if Donald Trump does become the nominee, there's no way he wins the presidency. Actually, that's a gift to the Democrats if Donald Trump is the nominee. But I think Donald Trump's going to have so many other things going on that there's no way that he can possibly get elected. Let's see, Great Captain. Oh, hey, Great Captain, thanks for showing up. He's one of the moderators. I appreciate it. I think we need your help on this. Octodiver says, let's see him run or ride a bike. He can't even get on a bike. What else we got here? Jim 97006. God, they're coming so quickly. I'm having trouble keeping up here. I apologize. With the fraud of the Democrats, the Republicans lose. Yeah, good one. Well, we've got a lot of folks out there that question my ideology. Do you think, let me get this, do you think Trump is going to get the nomination and win the presidency in 2016? No, because 2016 already happened. Do I think he'll get it in 2024? No, I don't. I think the Republicans will do everything they possibly can to keep him from getting the nomination. It's a sure loss for him. Let's see here. Do you think he's going? Yeah, a lot of questions coming from the wrong people. CNN and MSNBC have said there is not a case against Trump. No, they haven't. They haven't said that. And first and foremost, if you trust the mainstream media, whether it be the right or the left, you're fooling yourself. If you listen to MSNBC, there's some legal experts that say the case is extremely strong. I mean, whatever you want to believe, you can try to believe, but the facts are the facts. The indictment is strong. Of the 34 felonies, he will get convicted of some of them. What will happen after that, we don't know, but he's going to get convicted. If found guilty, would he go to regular prison? Well, if he did go to prison, he'd go in some kind of isolation thing, so he wouldn't be in danger of all the other inmates. He'd probably flourish in fucking jail. I don't think he would go to jail. I mean, he's old. He's not in the best shape after a few years of having this hanging over his head. He won't be in proper condition to be put in jail. He's a former president. He'll put on house arrest or something like that. Just one conviction that stops Trump from holding office. If it's the right conviction and if they use the 14th Amendment, yes. But you know what? I don't honestly care. If he wants to try to run and they're going to try to give him the nomination, by all means do that. Let's see here. He won't see the inside of a cell, and that's too bad. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see him go to jail, but his life will be destroyed. He will be bankrupted, legitimately bankrupted. His life is over as he knows it. He won't have money. He'll be a pariah in this country. He won't have position. He may not even have Mar-a-Lago and Trump Tower anymore. With all the money that's going to be drained from him, he's going to have to sell this shit. And when he does, he's done. DeSantis is more scary than Trump. Do not be afraid of Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis is a lightweight. He's just Donald Trump 2.0. It's funny, you watch the Republicans and they're worried about what's it going to take to win the Republican nomination. Well, that's only half the game. You got to win the presidential election, and all these things that Ron DeSantis supports, like overturning abortion, the gun rights thing, the teaching thing, the Disney thing, none of that is popular with the general public. He can't win an election. Honestly, I don't see Ron DeSantis being the candidate. I think the candidate for the Republican Party will be somebody we don't know. Do you think Trump will ever see the White House again? Only if there's a prison nearby and he looks out the window of the paddy wagon. That's the only way he's going to see it. Oh, that's a good point. Young people are voting. Yeah, that's the key here. In 2024, there'll be 8 million more Gen Zs and millennials voting, and none of them vote for Republicans, or most of them don't vote for Republicans. That's going to be the real change here when the young people decide they're getting tired of old white men deciding their future and they take control. And when they take control, the Republicans don't have a fucking chance. Trump is getting out. They already said he's going to be acquitted. That's absolutely absurd. Nobody said that. That's not going to happen. And I don't even know where you come up with that. I can't even seriously listen to it because it's ridiculous. Young people are voting with their feelings and not looking at policies. Really. You don't like young people voting because they vote against you. I think they are looking at policies. When you overturn Roe v. Wade and you take constitutional rights away from 50% of this country, what makes you think you can win a fucking election? You cannot win a fucking election. Somebody said Democrats are done. That reminds me of all the the Republicans who have said for 6 years, just you wait, civil war's coming. Where were you in New York? You had like 4 people show up for Donald Trump in New York. These patriots are cowards. They're bullies and they're cowards. They don't show up. Donald Trump was embarrassed when he walked into that courtroom. He told everybody to protest, take back the country. Nobody fucking showed. Gen Z and Gen Alpha will save democracy. I don't disagree with you. I think they might. I guess when we're eating out of straw bowls and scratching boils, people wake up. You know, that's the one thing that troubles me about Republicans. Everything they do is about fear. And they try to mask it by being strong or tough. Well, it's becoming well known now that you're not tough. You're just bullies. And when you're pushed back, you run because you're cowards. And we're seeing it now. And you don't know what to do with it. So instead of saying, you know, hey, maybe we ought to change this up, you just double down and triple down. And that's not going to work. finally arrested one of Epstein's clients. I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything about that. What do you think about AOC as a potential candidate? Well, it's possible. It's possible. I don't think anytime soon. Certainly not 2024. She's too young. She's too progressive. I don't think she'll win. You're not going to make a dramatic change like that this quickly. But when the young people take over, well, then it might be a different situation. AOC is a smart woman. And I know the Republicans hate her, so all the more reason. How did the generation that wrote "Times They Are Changing" end up so scared of change? That's an excellent point. That's an excellent point. It's interesting. This thing that's going on in Tennessee with all these kids leaving school and protesting about the lax gun laws in Tennessee. It reminds me of the 60s. All the young people then protested against the Vietnam War. There were all kinds of riots and protests, and they were largely responsible for the end of the Vietnam War, women's rights, civil rights. So the young people did a lot of good there. And we need something like that again. It's hard to imagine, but the millennials, the Gen Zs, and so forth, they may very well be the people that save this country. And it looks like it's starting out in Tennessee with 10,000 students marching on the Capitol. And keep in mind, they were peaceful about it. They did it legally. There was no violence because they're better people than us at this point. Let's see, AOC did write a bill. No, it didn't pass. Well, what's your point? Jim Jordan hasn't written a bill in the 15 years he's been in fucking Congress. All he can do is whine and cry and embarrass himself. If Trump goes to jail, will his Secret Service go with him? Probably not. I heard somebody talking about this. They would probably put him in some kind of isolation with a lot of protection. You can't expect the Secret Service to go to jail with a motherfucker. He isn't going to jail, though, but he will be destroyed. Let's see. Jim, is OSU shameful? Absolutely. Trump was a dull, tired, listless loser in the rant tonight. More indictments are coming. He's over. I tend to agree with you. Excuse me. I'm old, so I cough. If you're not listening to our host podcast, it's very good. It's good that they're not listening, or the podcast is good. Jen, I'm just fucking with you. No, that's good. I'll remind folks, if you don't listen to the podcast, you should. I do a show every day. I just did one that'll go out tomorrow with a listener by the name of Dave. It's a great show. It's easy to find. Just go to rationalboomer.com. There's a bunch of links to Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and the podcast, so it's easy to find. Trump's toast. I agree. I think Trump was toast even before this. How do you find the podcast? I just told you, Joni Baloney. Go to rationalboomer.com. Put that up in your browser, and then you'll see all these links. Click the one that says podcast. There's 3 of them, or 3 different apps, and it's easy to find. Joni Baloney, I expect to have you listening tomorrow. 34 felonies, ones if convicted, one of that's jail time. I think each of these are like 4-year sentences. So if he got all 34 going against him, it'd be like 120 years. You'd obviously never get that. Prules Man says, did you by chance see the message I sent you on the new voter platform? I don't think I have, honestly, and I apologize. Send it to me again, and I'll check it out. I apologize for not seeing it. Let's see here. I see Great Captain out there kicking some ass and taking names. Way to go, Great Captain. All Trump supporters need mental health. I was just talking about that on the podcast. When you've seen what you've seen, heard what you've heard, and see all the things that have done, and if you still support Donald Trump, it's almost got to be an emotional or mental disability. Does he keep the presidential benefits if he's convicted? I don't know for sure, but I would expect he does. If he can run for office run for office while being in prison, and he can, I assume he would keep his benefits. Bobby Jean, 111, love your podcast. Thank you very much. I appreciate that immensely. You know, with all the talk of them taking down TikTok, and they're not going to do that. That's one of the reasons I do the podcast, because it's the one place I can say whatever I want, do whatever I want, talk about the things I want, have listeners on as guests, and nobody can fuck with it. There are no Trump-la-fucks over there, so we don't have problems with that. So if TikTok goes away, there's always YouTube, Instagram, and the podcast. The podcast will always be there. Do you believe President Biden is in good health? I don't know. As far as what I can see, he is. I've often said I don't think he should run in 2024. He's going to be 82 years old. That's too old. I appreciate what Biden did. I think he's been a good president. He's gotten a lot of things done, a lot more than most presidents. But I think, he's 82. It's time we get rid of the old white man and put in some younger people to decide their own destiny, as opposed to people like me or Biden or somebody deciding what their future is going to be. They're going to have to deal with it after we're all long dead, and that's not fair. Buying a cat. Democrats need to stay focused and not get distracted by commenting on Trump. Rhonda Bell. I understand what you're saying. We can't just focus on Donald Trump, but we have to pay attention to Donald Trump. He is a problem. He is a danger to this country, to our democracy, and we need to see it through. We need to know that this whole thing is put down. If we don't, we're due to have it back. Democrats need strong messaging. I agree, and it seems like we're getting more of that strong messaging. I particularly like the minority leader in the House of Representatives, Hakeem Jeffries. I look at Hakeem Jeffries as Barack Obama with an attitude and a stick. I see Hakeem Jeffries maybe being a presidential candidate, 28, 32, something like that. We cannot have more shameless criminals in positions of power. You know what? It's interesting you would say that. And when I was talking in the podcast that's going to air tomorrow to the guests there, if there's one thing that Donald Trump did that was positive, he brought to light the criminality and the corruption in our government. It wasn't as bad prior to Donald Trump, but it was there. But it was under the radar, so we didn't know it was there. What Donald Trump did is bring it to the surface, and now we know it's there. We got to clean up the mess that Donald Trump created, but we can't stop there. We have to look at the rest of government, both Democrat and Republican, and straighten that shit out. The way our government is set up, we should have the power, but we don't. And that's the fault of the Republicans and the Democrats. So we need to find a way to get the power back to the people. That's the only way democracy survives. We woke up. They didn't want us woke up. We can't go back. Yeah, it's funny how they always use the term woke as a slur when they can't even define the word woke. It's just a buzzword they came up with. It's like when they say, you're a liberal. Okay? That's not an insult. Big Jim Sab, do you fear war? Do you think our government has done a good job? Sounds like a Trump idea. I don't know what that means. I'm not afraid of a war. I don't think we're going to see a war. There's too much other things. Okay, there's Dewey. Hey, Dewey, what up? Yeah, we can do a dual live if you want, Dewey. I get a lot of people asking to come on. I don't know them, and I've done it in the past, and it's a fucking shit show. But, yeah, I'll do it with you, Dewey. I just don't know how to do it. Do you think Trump will be convicted just like with the Russia stuff. I think he's going to get so many convictions he won't know where to fucking turn. He will have no clue what to do. Okay. Dewey, you were there and now you're not there. Anyway, do you think we'll have a war? No, I don't think we'll have a war. We got too many other fucking things to do to worry about a war. I'm not worried about China. I'm not worried about Russia. They've got their own fucking messes. I've got a podcast guest recommendation, TikToker of Go the HRC. Not familiar with that. But send me an email. Tell me who it is, and I'd be happy to look at it. Remember when I was much younger, everyone was talking about Ted Kennedy was done. Don't think, I don't know. I'll accept Dewey here.
Hey,
Okay,
Mike.
we got a guest coming in, Dewey. Dewey's a friend of mine on TikTok. Hey, Dewey, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. The main reason I pulled you in here, Dewey, good. The main reason I pulled you in here is the same reason I have guests on my podcast. I have to do less work, and I'm a lame motherfucker. So Dewey can talk now too.
Yeah,
What you
have.
think about that?
I was gonna ask you the same exact question. How do you feel about the indictment? Uh, I gotta say something really quick. Because I've always on my podcast, I've always said, I really appreciate how uh, Romney has handled this whole thing. He released a statement today, and he basically said, I don't believe Donald Trump is fit for office, but I do believe that the law, everyone's equal under the law, and this is too much. And my thought about the indictment is it's finally time that we get this guy accountable because uh, not only for this, but for the other things that he did. And people tell me, Dewey, he did not incite any insurrection. And I said, this is how I answer that. He said, folks, we'll go to the Capitol, and then we'll go together to the Capitol, okay? And then he does that, and they go to the Capitol, and they start tearing into everything. And I don't know. I'm happy because it means that we're like I still believe that our justice system is sincerely just flawed and it's fixable, but we need someone who isn't constantly, saying things like, I'm the greatest jobs president that ever was, folks, okay? I'm the greatest that there's ever been. It's just not factual, and he'll continue to spew these lies until we say, you know what, enough.
Well, Dewey, I didn't know you did imitations, and it was okay. Great, but it was okay. I want to answer a question somebody just gave. Do you think the Republicans will, other Republicans will face criminal charges since Trump got indicted? I don't think so in New York, but definitely, absolutely the Republicans that are indicted in Georgia and in the documents case in January 6th, which we know in Georgia there could be as many as 18 indictments there. We know that Lindsey Graham called the Secretary of State twice. We know that Rudy Giuliani went there. We know that Rudy Giuliani has already been identified as a target. So there will be a bunch of Republicans taking a fall. And I think there will be sitting members of Congress, Republicans, Jim Jordan, Marjorie Taylor Greens, and those folks. They're going to take a fall too. Yes, I absolutely I think there will be plenty of other Republican indictment. Uh, where do we go? Dewey left. Anyway, we'll keep going. Maybe Dewey will come back. I don't know. But anyway, or did I get knocked off? I bet I got knocked off. What do you think of the digital dollar? I don't know shit about the digital dollar. A lot of these people will do things for publicity, but the publicity they'll get isn't working properly. Well, I'm not dual streaming anymore, so stick around. So anyway, we're looking at a lot of changes going on in this country. For a long time, it seemed like Donald Trump and the Trump-la-fucks were in control and there was nothing we could do about it. But I feel the tide is turning now, especially with this indictment of Donald Trump. It's just the start. And you can see in the Republicans' faces that they are scared to death because they know that Donald Trump will throw anybody under the bus and that anybody that had a connection with Donald Trump will get caught up in this bullshit too. Mike, we'll send you the podcast thing. You know what's funny? Great. Yeah, I'd like to talk to her. There's been a number of other TikTokers I've sent DMs to and say, hey, you want to be on the show? Never get a response. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm not the cool guy on the block. But as I say, if you're not listening to the Rational Boomer podcast, I would implore you to do so. It's very similar to what you see here on TikTok, but we get to talk in a more expanded way. There are no Trump-la-fucks to take us down. We get to do whatever we want. I'm more than happy to have guests on. Anybody that wants to. If you listen to the podcast, you're qualified to be on the show. All you have to do is email me. She's on. Wisconsin Supreme Court. That was a big news story. Everybody was concerned about it. The liberal against the conservative. They were concerned what would happen with abortion and gun rights if the conservative won and then they took the majority in the Supreme Court. Well, good news. The conservative lost to the liberal by 10 points, 55% to 45%. What do you think of Lady G on Fox Entertainment? Wow, he's in a frightening situation. I think he knows he's on the hook in Georgia. I think he knows he's going to get an indictment. And, he was literally crying, please help out Donald Trump, which is ironic because initially when Donald Trump decided to run for the presidency, he was against him. He said that Donald Trump would destroy the Republican Party. Turns out he did. But now, for whatever reason, Lady G, Lindsey Graham, supports him like no other. He'll go on TV and cry for Donald Trump. There's something weird going on with that. Soap fan forever. You are the cool guy. Thank you. Thank you. I think there are many people, most of which are in my family, that would debate you on that. T-Pan68, great stuff. I think you're hitting the nail on the head over and over. You are great. Thank you. I need to hear that. Lori McHugh says, you're the cool guy on the block. I don't know about that, but cool guy is relative. Maybe a cool guy of 63-year-old guys, but compared to some of the other people on TikTok, I don't know about that. I'm not that cool. Ladybug is compromised. Yes, I would agree. Did you see how Marjorie Taylor Greene decided to stomp into New York City, support her Lord and Savior Donald Trump, and fight along with all the hordes of Trump-la-fucks? She gets there. There are no Trump-la-fucks to ride with. And the people in New York just shut her down with whistles and shouting her down. She was there like 9 minutes, and they had to crowd around her to get her out of there and into a car and back down to Florida so she could be with Donald Trump during his fucked up speech. Bruce says, Rational Boomer, versed, sir, mad respect for your wit and intelligence. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, Marjorie looked pretty silly. And somehow she'll try to spin it that she was victorious in New York. She was a total bust. She is a joke. She's not very smart, and she makes herself look foolish just about every day. It was an impressive shutdown in NYC, absolutely. Yeah, thank you, New Yorkers. Like I said in one of the TikToks, I have a newfound respect and appreciation for New York. I love the city of New York anyway. Some people think that I kind of talk like a New Yorker, not the accent, just the attitude, and I kind of get that. Somebody says, why don't you run for office? That will never happen. I wouldn't be a good candidate for anything. I don't listen to shit. I don't like meetings. I tend to stir things up, and I would probably get in trouble. And I think I'm more effective on the outside stirring shit up out here. Alfred Bello says, thank you for the podcast. Thank you for listening. Trump has dirt on all the Republicans. That's why they're all so far up his ass. Well, there's something to be said about that. You know, when Donald Trump asked the Russians to tap into the Democrats' headquarters, they also tapped into the Republican headquarters. I'm sure they handed off all that information to Donald Trump, and yeah, he probably is holding it over their heads because that is Donald Trump's modus operandi. He is a blackmailer, and he's done it all of his life. New Yorkers don't take shit. I love them, folks. Mad love and respect from me. Yeah, I can appreciate anybody that doesn't take shit. Democrats have taken a lot of shit over the years, and it's time they turn it around. Let's see. Damn right. Keep doing what you're doing. Yeah, I'm not going to stop. You know, all the years I worked in radio, you always had some guy in a suit telling you what you should say and what you can't say. And protesting. They're tired of what the old white guys are doing. And then, of course, in the legislature, the Republicans shut down and try to kick out Democrats because they had the audacity to speak to truth and justice. It's a fucking sad day. But you know what it is, really? It's getting really bad, and they're doing very blatant and egregious shit, but that only tells me that they are in desperation mode. They're holding on by a thread. In 2024, we're going to have like 8 million more Gen Zs and millennials, and then they're going to be fucking done. Gen Zs and millennials that will be voting. They know the end is near. They know they can't hold on forever. So now they're flailing, getting desperate. Let's see. Today, Tennessee Rep. Lamberth asked the kids what gun they'd rather get shot with. Yeah, that's typical. They're oblivious. They're not very bright. They're tactless. And they're fucking children. They're fucking children. Let's see here. Representative Lafferty physically attacked Representative Jones in Tennessee. I didn't see the attack, but I saw the aftermath, and that shit's got to be dealt with. That's an assault. That is a crime. Let's see here. Please don't respond to trolls. They'll be mocked and muted. Great Captain, you hit it on the head. The trolls, don't bother with them. I've had lives taken down frequently. That's why I don't do a lot of lives. But there's no point in arguing with them. They can't listen to... they don't listen to anything. They don't understand facts. They don't comprehend truth or justice. We've got a lot of comments that make no sense, have nothing to do with anything. Thanks for being you. It keeps me calm. Well, thank you. Who needs ABC Nightly News when you have your analysis and fair and balanced? Bravo. I don't know if it's fair and balanced. I always get this argument from Trump-the-fucks. Why can't you see our side? Why can't we come together in the middle? Well, I'll tell you this. If one side is the truth and one side is the lie, which is the case with me and Trump-the-fucks, there is no middle ground. I'm not going to compromise away from the truth. The only compromise is if you realize, the Republicans realize that they're lies and conspiracy theories, and you walk away from it. There is no middle ground. What is the rational you speak of? Is it a new concept? Well, it was kind of the hook I had when I started the Rational Boomer podcast. People see me walking down the street and they go, oh, there's a fucking old white Trump humper. And then they hear me talk and they're surprised. So it's kind of, what's the word? I don't know what the word is. But rational and boomer don't necessarily go together. In this case, it does. It's good to see some boomer generation that have common sense and see what's wrong with the GOP. You know what? People, foolish Walt boy, you have a podcast. I do have a podcast, and you should listen to it. All you have to do is go to rationalboomer.com, and there's a bunch of links in there to the podcast, to Instagram, and all that shit, so check it out. I forgot what I was saying about the other thing. Oh, we were talking about having a rational boomer. I don't, it's weird for a boomer like me to talk the way I do, but it doesn't really make any sense. It's all about logic and truth. And if you're a boomer, you're old enough to be somewhat educated and experienced in life. Somehow you should be able to recognize truth and facts and those sorts of things. Unfortunately, many of the people that are of my generation are completely oblivious to truth and facts. I know quite a few rational boomers, also several that aren't. Yeah, I agree with you. There's a lot that aren't. When I started the rational boomer thing on TikTok, my intent was to try to see how many were out there and try to bring them together. And fortunately, I've gotten a pretty good list of followers, or peers as I call them. So it tells me there are a lot of people that think like me. I'm not the fucking unicorn. There's a lot of people that think like I do. And it's not a hard thing to do. Like I say, it's about logic. It's about truth. It's about what's right. That's why people say you're a Democrat, you're a libtard. I'm neither of those things because I don't join clubs. The things I stand for or support are, like I say, truth, justice, facts, what's right. And if a Republican was standing for that, I'd probably back him. But at this point, Republicans aren't quite in line with that. Girl from MTN, what state are you in? I'm in Minnesota, but I also have a place in Savannah, Georgia, too. Do you agree American descendants of slavery should get reparations? Yeah, I do. I do, because even the people today that are the ancestors of slaves suffer from what happened back then. If we can give the rich a $2 trillion tax break, why not give reparations to people who have struggled for hundreds of years? Artemis Green says, I've found that the majority of boomers I've met are rational. That's good to hear. It's hard to claim to be a boomer right now with all the morons out there. Yeah, it is. It is. But I like being somebody who doesn't like being in a group. While I'm a boomer by virtue of when I was born, I don't recognize being a boomer per se. I'm a young boomer. I was born in 1960. I don't think like most boomers. I don't need to think like most boomers. I'm only concerned what's true, what's right. Accountability. Whoever breaks the law, all should go through what we do. Absolutely. We're constantly being told that no one is above the law, and that is absolute bullshit. Apparently, a president can be in office and break any law he wants, and he can't be indicted. That's what this little memo sent through the DOJ says. that man or woman, whoever's president, is above the law. Some of these senators who have gotten away with things are above the law. If you're going to tell us that no one is above the law, then you got to fucking show us. You got to show us that no one's above the law. This gentleman says, I'm a boomer and keep good company, born in 57. I was born in 60. KK Ministry, rational boomer, oxymoron. That's the word I was looking for. It is an oxymoron to some degree, but clearly I'm the exception to the rule, and the 238,000 people that follow me on TikTok are also the exception to the rule. How do you stop children from fighting other children at a carnival? That's a stupid question. Yeah, well, they're all about 34 felony indictments, and he got to go home. We'd all be locked away forever. Yeah, you're probably true, but by virtue of him being a former president, it presents all kinds of problems. I don't mind that he went home. I expected that he would go home. Jules says, Mike, nice to see you. Nice to see you too. I don't mind that he went home. I want this piled on him as high as it can possibly go. He's going to be treated differently by virtue of him being the former president. So we have to deal with that. Artemis Green says, born in 54 and in the 60s marched for civil rights. I remain dedicated to values and morals. Thank you. If you don't fire the prosecutor, you won't get the $1 billion loan, Joe Biden. Don't even know what that is. Apparently with Republicans, you can just pull shit out of your ass and say it as if it's real. But unfortunately, these days, hearing the truth from a Republican is a rarity. Let's see here. Love it. Keep telling the truth. I try. You know, for all intents and purposes, I'm also giving an opinion here. It's not just all facts. I do give an opinion. And I do that because I'm basing it on the facts I see. I'm trying to get people to look at these things in a deeper level so they understand what's really going on. When we're talking about the media, they only tell you what they want you to hear. They want to strike an emotion. They want to get you scared or mad so that you keep watching. But they don't tell you all the facts. So that's what we try to do, is tell you all the facts, and then you can make a choice. You could disagree with me or agree with me. It doesn't really matter. But as long as you know the facts, at least you can make an informed choice. And that's something that people haven't been doing all that long. If you lock him up, all politicians need to be locked up. Yeah. What about ism? Thank you for your content. I like what you say. Thank you, Michael Moten, 301. We're almost getting to the point. You know, for the last 6 years, we've had to go head-to-head with the Republicans and fight with them and argue with them. I think we're almost at the point where we can just disregard them. They're not serious. They're not talking about facts. So the Democrats are winning here on every level. So let's ignore them and just move on and do what we need to do. Let's see here. The Georgia indictments will likely put him in prison. If there's anything that puts him in prison, it could be that. You're absolutely right. If he thinks he's innocent, why doesn't he go to trial? Because he knows he's not innocent. Okay, we did that. No, we need to force political system to change for the better. I agree. There has to be some forcing going on here. I appreciate your factual support of reparations. The vestiges of slavery continue to exist today. Absolutely. I mean, it's like before Donald Trump came in, white people would say, I think racism is getting better. Now, it never got better. They were just hiding under rocks. And then Donald Trump comes to town, and he makes it cool to stand up and spew this ignorant bullshit. The amount of racism we have now is the same amount of racism as we had in 2015. If you don't believe me, just ask somebody of color. They will fucking tell you. 34 indictments, that's 34 more than Hunter has. Absolutely. They always throw Hunter Biden. And I was just telling somebody, you think about it. We're talking about an insurrection. We're talking about classified documents. We're talking about criminality and corruption. And all the Republicans have is Hunter Biden. Well, why haven't you done something about it? I mean, the Donald Trump administration had Hunter Biden's laptop in 2019. How come nothing's come out about that? It sounds to me like the Republicans are failing. If it's so bad and so egregious, well, then fucking do something about it. You got control in the House. You keep having these hearings, and they always get embarrassed because they have no factual information. It's all bullshit. Let's see here. Facts, I appreciate your honesty and your truth. Thank you. I appreciate that. What's your thoughts on the transgender community? It's like my thoughts on anybody that is different. What's my thoughts on LGBTQ? What's my thoughts on people of color? What's my thoughts on people with blonde hair, with green eyes? I don't fucking care. They're people. Let them live their lives and do what they want to do. I have a quick and fast rule about people. If you're nice to me, I'm nice to you. If you're an asshole to me, I'm going to be a dick to you. And what your color, your gender, your sexual orientation, or your religion is makes no fucking difference. Red Plain says, I think Hunter is guilty, but not to the extent the Repugs say. If so, yes, he should be charged. Is he guilty? Let's be honest. Hunter Biden was a drug addict. He was a fuck up. If he was my kid, I would be embarrassed, and I would have been terribly troubled during the time he was doing drugs. Is he guilty? Guilty of what? I don't know yet, because they've never come out and shown any proof of anything. If he's guilty, yeah, put the fucker in jail. I don't care. But show us some evidence. You kept talking about election fraud. Never a shred of evidence. You're still talking about election fraud, but you can't show any evidence. It's hard to give you any credit or respect the things you say if you can't back up what you say. I'm Gen X and enjoy listening to your wisdom and wit. Thank you very much. I have two millennials who could give a shit about what I say. My millennial sons don't listen to TikToks or the podcast. They always tell me, I hear this shit 24 hours a day. I don't need to listen to you on a fucking TikTok. They're probably right. How come Donald can still run for president after all these charges? It's a good question. Apparently in the Constitution, anybody can run for president. But if you get a felony, you can't vote. It sounds like something the forefathers missed. The thing is, Hunter is not or was not the president, or even working for government. Don Jr. was helping out Donald Trump. Ivanka Trump was helping out Donald Trump, but not Hunter Biden. Did he get help because of Dad's influence? Probably. Like every other politician is given influence. I mean, look at Rudy Giuliani's kid. He was running for fucking mayor. He had a job working for Donald Trump. This nepotism shit isn't new. Oh my God, I feel like I've come home and found a safe shelter for my soul. I appreciate you. Well, you're safe here. We will have the trolls now and again, but we got Gray Captain and I think Aloha Girl and some other folks trying to separate them out of here. Thanks for joining us, Par 2009. Fiercey says, I have a millennial and a Gen Z offspring. No one listens to me either. No, they don't listen. Here's the thing. I can tell my kids the wisest thing in the world, and they'll look at me like, what the fuck are you talking about? Then my brother can tell them the very same thing, and it's like it's direct from God. I don't know. It's something about parents and kids. I guess I did that with my parents too. Upside down thinking, I like the idea of southern states divorce, the deep south anyway. There's still hope for the rest. Yeah, that'll never happen. It would never work. The red states get all the welfare. The blue states pay all the welfare. And if they go out on their own, they are fucked. And I think they know that. Roger Young, will you look up the SCOTUS docket for 2/2023 and let everyone know what you find? No idea what you're talking about. If you told me what it's about, I may know something about it. It's interesting to me that none of Trump's family was with him today during his speech. Yeah, that's interesting. It's interesting, too, that Marjorie Taylor Greene and George Santos were the only people supporting him when he was being arraigned. Melania didn't show. Ivanka, Don Jr., they didn't show. Kevin McCarthy didn't show. Jim Jordan didn't show. Lauren Boebert didn't show. That's really interesting. And that's how it's going to go for Donald Trump. These people will slowly drift away from Donald Trump and start some other shit someplace else. Boomer here in Sarasota, Florida. Hey, Boomer. I was just in Orlando the other day. I flew to Orlando and drove to Savannah. Didn't spend a lot of time in Orlando. B. Hayes, 2186. I'm a 61-year-old boomer from Minnesota, living in almost blue Arizona. I know what you're saying. I've been to Arizona recently. Captain Howdy says I'm the only Democrat in Kentucky. I wouldn't be surprised. The shit you've got going on in Kentucky with Mitch McConnell and Rand Paul and some of those other crazy fuck. Comments about Tennessee. I think what's happening in Tennessee is very vitally important. They have the laxest gun laws in the country. The governor is a piece of shit. He's all about giving anybody and everybody guns and letting them doing whatever the fuck they want. And then you have the school shooting with 3 kids and 3 adults being shot. Apparently the young people are getting upset about it, and they're coming out en masse. 10,000 kids walked out of school and protested at the Capitol. Not only at the Capitol, but in the Capitol. And that is important right now. As I've said before, it's kind of reminiscent of the 60s when we had the Vietnam War, women's rights, civil rights, and all that stuff. It was the young people that came out and protested that forced the issue. And I think with the millennials and the Gen Zs coming of age and being voters, they're the ones that are going to push us off more to the left and off this right bullshit. What's going on in Tennessee is a very important story, and we need to watch it, because whatever's going on in Tennessee with those young people, it's going to spread to other states. Other states where young people are looking at old white men deciding what their future is going to be and not liking it a fucking bit. If you're a young person and you're watching what's going on, understand you have the power to change it. You young people of anybody have the power to change it. So instead of thinking about it or talking about it, go out and fucking do it. Jack Smith's team will squash Trump. Yeah, there's no question about that. Somebody says, do you support Joe Biden? I support the President of the United States. I like Joe Biden. I think he did a great job. I think he was the right guy to be president for the time. But I think in 2024, it's time to get a younger blood in there. Hey, Mike, how about Wisconsin tonight? Yeah, it was a great night in Wisconsin. They had the election for the Supreme Court, conservative against the liberal. Everybody was concerned the conservative would win, but the liberal won. It's just another example of why the Republicans are failing every fucking day. Imagine every day a mass shooting. Yeah, the whole mass shooting thing is just out of control. It's absolutely out of control. The funny thing about our government, their first job is to protect the citizens of their country, of their state. And they don't do that, especially the governor of Florida, the governor of Tennessee, the governor of Texas. They're all about being anti-abortion, saving the unborn child. But once those children go to school, anybody, any fucking ignorant piece of shit can walk into a school with a gun and start shooting children. And what do the governors think about that? Well, they don't fucking care. They don't fucking care. Do you think Joe Biden has done a great job for America? I think he's done as good a job as possibly could be expected given the circumstances. In fact, I think he's done better than a lot of presidents would do with the hurdles he's had. I do. D. Scott John, love your podcast, Mike. Thank you very much. Governor of Florida is a piece of shit without question. Ron DeSantis, don't be afraid of Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis won't be around in 2024. If he doesn't take down himself, Donald Trump will. And that's the essence of the Republican Party. They're spending more time fighting amongst themselves than they do with the Democrats. And the Democrats are just sitting back going, go for it, fuck it, we don't care. Gray Captain, you are doing a hell of a job. User, you're a good man, thank you. They gave him so many charges to hope something sticks. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they did that for that purpose, but you got 34 felony charges. You only need one to stick, and the odds are one will stick. Probably many will stick. The indictment in New York is probably the weakest of the Georgia and the DOJ indictments, and that one indictment with that many charges may be all that's necessary to sink and end Donald Trump. But then when you throw those others in there, it's insurmountable. He won't be able to get through it. He just can't. Why is it that school shootings get squashed after a few months when the incident happens? Well, that's a good question. These are serious and tragic situations. It seems like we've almost become desensitized to it. How do you like Daniel Goldman? I'm hoping to see a lot more of him in the future. I love Daniel Goldman. He's a serious motherfucker, and he takes those assholes to task and embarrasses them every time. Yeah, I think Daniel Goldman is a good future prospect for the Democrats. Too many Republicans getting money from the NRA? Absolutely. Mrs. Toast, hi Mike, love listening to you every day. I appreciate you listening every day. I bet he will be president, I guarantee it. Well, then you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Donald Trump will never be president. Who is that guy, Daniel Goldman? He's a representative in the House from New York. He's a former prosecutor, and he's not somebody to be fucked with. He destroys Jim Jordan every time he talks to Jim Jordan. So what about Governor Kemp giving Trump a pardon? I don't think he can in that situation. He can't give him a pardon. I think we've talked about that before. Kemp doesn't have the power to give him a pardon even though it's in the state. There's nothing that can stop Trump. Our only hope is to contain him. Oh, trust me, Donald Trump will be stopped dead. Donald Trump will be stopped. He's not a superhero. In spite of what the Trump-la-fucks think, he's not a superhero. Michael Moten says, I love Jamie Raskin. Another great guy, another smart guy. He tears. You know, that's the thing about the Democrats in the House. They don't have the majority anymore. And everybody says, why don't they fight against the Republicans, get rid of Kevin McCarthy? They don't want to do that. They know the Republicans are going to fuck up and accomplish nothing. So they just sit back and take pot shots and laugh about it because they're so stupid. Let's see. Donald Trump lost the last 3 elections. Joss KL or K1386. Yeah, he has. I mean, that's the thing. Everybody wants Donald Trump to be the nominee. He won 2016, but it sounds like he did some crazy shit there. 2018, everything Donald Trump touched, lost. 2020, Donald Trump lost by 7 million votes. 2022, the red wave that was supposed to come didn't come because everybody was going along with what Donald Trump said. Donald Trump endorsed a bunch of people, and all of them fucking lost. So Donald Trump is a loser. There's no question. The GOP will stop him. Yeah, I think that's the person or the group that's going to stop him. They can't afford to have Donald Trump on a ticket again. Miss you lots, man, to me is just wasted energy. Not sure what that means. I apologize. I'm not the. Sometimes I'm a little slow. It's getting late. You know, what the fuck. We can stop Republicans across the board, and we have the opportunity to do it now. Rational Boomer, love listening to you. Keep it up. Thank you. Yeah, you're right. There is momentum on the Democrats' side. They're finally coming through and getting tough with the situation. If they keep going after them and keep doing what they're doing, they will beat the Republicans with the help from the millennials and the Gen Z. Hey, Mike, thoughts on Marianne Williamson? I think she's kind of a kook. I mean, I think she has some good ideas here and there, but she's a kook, and there is no way she will be a viable candidate. There's no way she will win the presidency. There's no way she'll win the Senate. So she's kind of inconsequential. Even if she has some good ideas, she's not in a position, she doesn't have the support to ever fucking do anything. Hold on here. Betty Hernandez, I don't like him, period. That said, they said that even if he is convicted, he could still run. Well, yeah, theoretically he could. Don't ask me why. It doesn't make any sense. Pools, man, when you read my message, you will see what we can do to win and start fighting. Well, I'll check it out. Hey, did Marjorie Taylor Greene bring her compadres to New York? I don't think she brought, well, she might have brought some people, nobody of any import. George Santos went there, but they ran that fucker out of town, which is ironic because New York is his home state. He got kicked out of his own home fucking state. Let's see here. Gavin Newsom. Yeah, I think he might be a viable presidential candidate, but he was hot for a while and he's not now. That's what you want to understand. Everybody's trying to decide what's going to happen in 2024. Still a little early yet. Once the primaries start, everything changes. If you remember back in 2016, Jeb Bush was the hot prospect, but we know what ended up happening. So there's no reason to say this guy's a shoo-in, because there are no shoo-ins. If not Biden, then who? Well, that's a good question. Actually, we're getting down to the point. We're kind of right at the edge. It's still too early to tell who the Republicans are going to run, but if we go any deeper, it's going to be too late to replace Biden, which could be troublesome. Somebody who's that age, something could happen between that time and 2024. He gets sick or whatever, and then they've got to throw somebody else in there. The only likely prospect in that situation would be Kamala Harris, but Kamala Harris has to do something to raise her profile. More people know her and get some opinions on her. They've either got to take some time to spotlight Kamala Harris, expose her somehow, to make her an heir apparent. See, the thing about it is somebody else could come in and run for president over and above Kamala Harris, and that's probably what would happen. But it would cause some problems in the Democratic Party because it's like a natural progression. She is kind of the heir apparent as the vice president, but she isn't strong enough in terms of perception. She's a smart woman. I think she would be a decent president, but she's got to convince a lot of people, and she's not doing that at this point. What do you think that's happening in Tennessee? I talked about that, and it's very important. It's inspiring to see those young kids come out. And I think ultimately when it comes to saving this country and saving democracy, it's going to be the young kids like the kids in Tennessee. Trump keeps repeating the same lies over and over. People will believe it eventually. Some people. Fewer people than used to believe it. Donald Trump is very close to his expiration date. His bullshit isn't working anymore, and he's in trouble. Red Plain says expulsion of 3 reps. Yeah, we talked about that in the Tennessee legislature. Some Democrats stood up and stood with those students, and the Republicans got butthurt about it, and then threw out the Democrats, which seems unconstitutional. Somebody's suggesting Katie Porter for president, and I think she would be a good president. I still think she's a little young. She needs a little more seasoning. I'm worried about Katie Porter and Adam Schiff, though. They're both valuable people in the House of Representatives, and they are both running for the U.S. Senate in California. I hate the idea. I like the idea that one of them become a senator, but I hate the idea that one of them will be out of Congress completely. Hey, sir, I appreciate that you're allowing Trump to do too much. Still, his mental health. Never shift too close to Israel. What the fuck does that have to do with anything? Liberal versus conservative. Fact versus opinion. Yeah, there was a time when there was a time when Democrats and Republicans were 6 of one and half dozen of the other. They just thought different things, and now we've got criminals and less criminals. Porter's run is more problematic. She's risking her seat turning red. Exactly. I understand why Katie Porter would want to be senator. If she got to be senator, then she'd be on a track to run for president at some point. But Adam Schiff is a strong candidate too, and there's a couple of other Democrats running, so that could be a mess. You said the F word. I love you even more now. Honey, I say the F word a lot. A lot. Some people hate it. Some people like it, but that's just me. Kent Guy 789, love your podcast. Thank you very much. Magoro, Democrats are horrible at messaging and truth, and Republicans excel at messaging BS. That was the case. I think that's changing now. Republicans have gone so far over the top, people aren't buying the BS anymore, and Democrats are becoming more aggressive. Not as much as they should be, but it's getting there. Stacey Abrams should be offered the DNC chair. Absolutely. Stacey Abrams isn't in a political position, and she may be one of the best politicians in this country. They should be using her someplace, either as the DNC chair or Biden should appoint her somewhere just to keep her in the mix. She's valuable, and for her not to be in politics right now is a waste. Sentence enhancers like the F word are a sign of high intelligence. That's what I say, but some other people disagree with me. People are too sensitive. Yeah, I agree. Just words. If a word hurts you, you're kind of weak. If you don't like what somebody says, don't listen to them. It's as simple as that. People have called me and said, or DM'd me and said, if you just, a lot of people say this, they say, if you didn't swear so much, I could share you on Facebook. You know what? I appreciate that. But I got to be true to myself, and I say the F word. That is my flaw. I swear a lot of ways, and that is my flaw. If it means you can't share what I'm saying, fine. I don't care. I don't care at all. And I don't mean to be arrogant about that I don't appreciate the help. It's just that I'm not going to change for anybody. The whole point of me doing the TikToks and the podcast is because of after years in radio where I had people telling me what I could and couldn't say, I said, you know what, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it exactly the way I want. And nobody's going to tell me any different. And that's just the way it is. Where are the folk who actually believe Candace Owen is a good candidate? She's not a good candidate. She's barely a good moderator. Keep being you, Mike. We love you, brother. Love you too, man. Appreciate you, Mike. I'm off to bed, but have some things to email you. Please do. Is Georgia case much stronger against Trump? Yeah, I think it's pretty strong. I mean, They got him committing a crime in an audio recording, in his words, in his voice. That sounds pretty strong. I think they'll do all right down there. Dundolo says, "I love when you say the F word." That's one of the things that surprised me. I was going to swear when I did TikToks, and people will say you shouldn't say it. I don't like it when you say it, but I swear to fucking God that the people who like me saying the F word to the people who don't like me saying the F word is about 10 to 1. So I'm going to keep saying it. Gyps W, you do you. That's it. That's one thing about people on TikTok. They start getting a bunch of followers and they think, okay, now I can do anything and I'll try different things and I'll be different people. I'm not going to do that. I do what I do. People listen to what I do. I'm going to keep doing it. This person says, you remind me of my dad in Montana who kept his liberal views despite the Republicans. I miss him. Yeah. Sorry for your loss. And that's the problem. You live in an all-Republican state and you have some common sense and decency and compassion and you got to keep your mouth shut. That's fucked. That's why I couldn't live in Montana or some other place. I have a tough time keeping my mouth fucking shut. I won't do it. What's going to happen to Senator Carrie Lake? Carrie Lake's not a senator. She's never going to be a senator. She's a failed TV person, a failed candidate for governor. She's a fucking loser. She's sidled up to Donald Trump, and it's too late to get away from it. Carrie Lake will always have Donald Trump's stink on her, and she will never do anything. She's too out there. She's too over the top. It won't ever happen. Has TikTok ever put you in TikTok jail? No. No. I've had some videos taken down, but no, I've never been in TikTok jail, and I'll tell you why. Unlike a lot of other people, whenever I see a Trumplefuck come up on my posts, I block them. I've literally blocked thousands and thousands of Trumplefucks. I would have more followers if I let them stay, but I'd rather have the quality followers or peers, as I call them, than having a whole big number. I get rid of them. And the reason I do that is because I've spent a lot of time building the platform, and I don't want to risk losing the platform to some dumb fuck. So I block every one of them. Boomer, can you tell what happened in the Wisconsin race? Yeah, we talked about it a bit ago. Supreme Court race, conservative against the Democrat. Everybody's freaking out about the prospect of a conservative winning. Good news, Democrat won by 10%. I like the word Trumplefuck. Yeah, that's a word I just kind of pulled out of my ass one day and it kind of caught. Now everybody kind of says it. I say it all the time. And I came up with a new word, an extension of that word. It was Trumplefuckism. Somebody else came up with something to go with Trumplefuck too. They said Trumplefuck and find out. I like that one too. Why is Facebook lobbying against TikTok? Because TikTok is eating Facebook's lunch. TikTok is kicking Facebook's ass and taking a lot of money from Facebook, and Mark Zuckerberg does not like it. Keep in mind, we've got 150 million Americans on TikTok. It's a very powerful app at this point. I don't think the government can get away with shutting it down. Shutting down and disappointing or taking something away from 150 million Americans is akin to thinking you can overturn Roe v. Wade and piss off 50% of the country and still win elections. I don't know. Politicians aren't the brightest in the world, but numbers seem to talk to them. And with 150 million people on TikTok, you'd be absolutely fucking stupid to shut it down. Purple Cat Dreams, Mike, I love all your TikTok videos. Keep speaking out. Goddamn right, I'm going to keep speaking out. Thank you very much. I can't wait for the Georgia flood on Trumpster fire. I agree. I'm anxious about that, and it sounds like the first week of May is when we'll see that. That's not that long from now. Nord571, one of the best creators on TikTok, right here, folks. Old Mike will set you free. I don't know if I'm one of the best. I'm just me. We do what we do, and I'm not really in competition with any other TikTokers. I don't give a fuck what they do. I don't care about other TikTokers. I mean, I have people I like and I know, but I'm not in competition with them, and I don't care what they do. The only people I care about are the ones that come and watch my TikToks. I kind of had that attitude back when I worked in radio. I'd always have these people saying, you should do this, you shouldn't do that, that were in the suits, that were the bosses. I'd never listen to them. I would never do what they say. But if a listener ever called me up and said, Mike, you should try this, or it would be better like this, always listen to my listeners. Those guys in the suits weren't my bosses. The listeners were my boss. And it's the same case with the TikToks and the podcasts. The people who listen, that show up every day, they're my boss. If I can do something to make it better for them, I will do that. Was a great day. Very grateful that that idiot is finally being held accountable. Absolutely, it's time. I hope Ed will join you on the podcast soon. I think he'll probably be on the show Thursday or Friday or Saturday. That's usually when he comes around. Bernie Sanders. Like Bernie Sanders. I think he should have been put up instead of Hillary Clinton in 2016, and Bernie probably would have won. Bernie's got the same problem as Joe Biden's got. He's older than Joe Biden. We don't need somebody in their 80s running for president. Now, if he has a protege that's like him to run, I might look at that. But Bernie, as great a guy as he is, I don't think he has a chance in 2024 because he's going to be like 83 or 84. We don't need that. I mean, Bernie's a great guy, but when you're that age, anything could happen. We don't need a president to get sick midway through their term and cause all kinds of more tumult and turbulence. We need a young person. We need somebody with a clearer, younger vision. Which indictments do you think will sink Trump finally? All of them. To be honest with you, if there were no more indictments but the one in New York, when that is all said and done, it will sink him ultimately. The cumulative indictments, we've got 3 or 4 or 5 indictments, that will bury Donald Trump and will shut him down quicker. That's why I say don't worry about the trials or the convictions. With 4 or 5 indictments hanging over your head and 3 or 4 civil lawsuits, he won't be able to fucking move. Let's not worry about the end game right now. Let's worry about stopping him now. And that's the accumulation of all the indictments. That will shut him down. Pete Buttigieg would get my vote for president. You know, I think he's a sharp guy. He's really good when he's on Fox News. I think he's still a little young and a little inexperienced. I don't think he'll be the guy in 2024, maybe 2028, depending on what he does in the next 4 years. Lock him up, yeah. You know, if that wasn't such a dumb phrase, or we'd have to steal it from the Republicans, I would say that about Donald Trump. But all I can think of is fuck Donald Trump. Let's see here. I'm concerned about the new law in Georgia just passed, going to Kemp's desk to remove Fani Willis. Yeah, that whole thing is not going to really be in place for some time. Fani Willis will have already indicted all the people. They can't get that done quick enough to shut down Fani Willis. Fani Willis is going to be fine. Now, if after she does the indictments and has the trials, they shut her down, so what? Fani Willis will be a legal star. She'll be able to do whatever the fuck she wants. She'll work for any major law firm in the country. She'll be a judge or she'll be on TV. She'll be fine. Beto would be a good president. Beto needs to win the governorship first. I don't know what it is, why he can't win when you're running against a dipshit like the current governor. Beto's a good guy. I haven't seen enough of him to think that he'd be a great president, but he'd certainly be a better president than Donald Trump, without question. When will we know the 34 felony counts? We already know the indictment is out. They don't give specifics, but we know that there are 34 felony counts for falsifying documents. That's what they are. And they have to do with the Stormy Daniels situation. They have to do with the election on a state level. And that also has to do with the fraud cases during his company, during the trial, from the trial with his company. So it's a very strong indictment. Remember, there were voter machine issues when Beto lost to Cruz. Yeah, that could be. Do you think we'll learn anything new from Pence when he has to talk about Trump and 1-6? Yeah, well, the grand jury will learn more. Understand that anything in the grand jury is secret. So anything we find out will either be leaked or come out in the trial. So even if he speaks to the grand jury tomorrow, we won't know anything. Now, Jack Smith will, and that'll help him decide what's going to happen in that indictment. And here's something to remember. When you think about the Manhattan District, remember, it looks like Alan Weisselberg flipped. He fired Donald Trump's lawyers because he knew he was going to be in the middle of this current indictment and he might spend more time in Rikers Island. He's there now for 5 months. I have to think, once you're in Rikers Island and you're 75 years old and they say, you know what, you might get 5 more years. All right, I'll talk. And that's why this indictment happened up in New York. Alan Weisselberg finally spoke up and threw Donald Trump under the bus. Do you think these indictments will also bring down Lindsey Graham and those others? Absolutely. If they're going to get Donald Trump, they got to get Lindsey Graham because Lindsey Graham called twice. He was in the middle of that thing and he had no business being in there. He's a senator from South Carolina. Why is he fucking around with Georgia? Weisselberg is setting it out in Rikers Island right now. But he did talk to the DA. They were going to drag him into this current indictment, but they didn't. And all of a sudden they indict Donald Trump, and he fires Donald Trump's lawyers, just like Cassidy Hutchinson did. Weisselberg definitely talked, and that's why Alvin Bragg had such a strong case and so many charges. Thoughts on continued silence from DOJ Garland and Jack Smith? Well, silence is relative. We know that Jack Smith is doing a lot of shit. He's moving fast and furious. Merrick Garland, that's a different story. We haven't heard much. But when it comes to the January 6th investigation and it comes to the classified documents, Merrick Garland is basically out of it. He outsourced it to Jack Smith. We ought to be looking at Jack Smith as to the indictments. But that's a good question. The J6 committee finishes up. Manhattan District finishes up. Fonnie Willis is talking about finishing up in the first week of May. Yeah, where the fuck is the DOJ? When are you going to do something? They probably won't come out with indictments for both cases. I think the classified documents case is going to be first because that's the strongest right off the bat. But they got to start getting. You don't want to get it too close to the 2024 election. They know that. I know that. So I expect we'll see something very soon. Somebody says, how about Marjorie Taylor Greene for president? President of what? The Lollipop Group? We should focus on Tennessee. That's the problem with this country. We're like the dog with the squirrel. Something big happens, we're focused. Something else happens, then we move our attention away from that and we forget about the first thing. We've got to be able to multitask and focus on all these things. We're sitting in a country with a lot of problems that we have to fix. We should fix them one by one and take care of all of them. But we can't take our eyes off those things we're working on. It's all politics. It's going on till the election. Okay. I can't wait for the Secret Service to tattle on Trump. Yeah, Jack Smith is deposing the Secret Service, and that's going to be interesting. I got a survey about your live wanting to know if it was age appropriate and what category. Adults. Why would a child want to listen to politics? Actually, oh shit, it's getting late. I'm going to wrap things up anyway. I appreciate you coming to the live. I don't do these very often, and I appreciate you coming. Great Captain, Aloha Girl, I appreciate your help as moderators and making things go smoothly. These surveys pop up all the time. It's not a big deal. No, I don't think it's a big deal. I don't watch a lot of live, so I don't get those. But they're trying to find out if somebody's acting crazy out here. You might regard what I'm doing as crazy, but I know I'm not nearly as fucking crazy as some of these other assholes out here. Anyway, I want to thank you coming to the live. I'll be doing a bunch more TikToks tomorrow. A podcast is going to be released at 1 a.m., like in about 20 minutes. And there's a podcast every day. If you want to know how to find me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, or the podcast, if you want to email me directly, by all means, email me if you have questions, comments, or whatever. But just go to rationalboomer.com. You'll get all the links there. I appreciate it immensely, you guys coming in. I appreciate the moderators doing what they're doing. I didn't give them a heads up, so they just showed up. Thanks for the extra work. I hope you have a great night. Watch on TikTok. Check out the podcast. And we will talk to you again very soon.